If you feel like you're working harder than ever, but still falling behind, you're not alone. Millions of people are stuck in a cycle they were never taught how to escape. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. And unless you learn how money actually works, you'll keep playing a game you were never meant to win. This isn't about motivation. It's about strategy. The rules of money are simple, but only if someone finally explains them to you. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome to the Passive Path. Let's talk about why the rich keep getting richer. It's not because they work harder. It's not because they're smarter. It's because they think differently about money. They don't work for money. They make money work for them. They don't save for retirement. They build streams of cash flow that pay them every month. They don't live below their means. They increase their means until their lifestyle is irrelevant. Meanwhile, most people were taught to fear money, to live within a budget, to avoid risk, to follow the rules. And yet, the middle class is shrinking. The poor are getting poorer. Prices are rising, but wages stay the same. People are working more hours than ever just to afford less. If that sounds familiar, it's not a coincidence. Our schools don't teach financial education. They teach obedience. They prepare employees, not owners. They teach you how to work for money, not how to make money work for you. You're told to go to school, get a job, save money, and retire. But that path no longer works, and deep down, you already know it. Look at the numbers. America prints over $1 trillion every 90 days. That's more than $1 million every second. But ask yourself this: does any of it go into your pocket? The truth is, you were trained to earn money, but not to understand it. You know how to work a job. You know how to spend. But were you ever taught what an asset is, or how cash flow works, or how to read a financial statement? The wealthy understand these things early because they learn it at home, or from mentors, or through experience. They don't live below their means. They use assets to buy their liabilities. When they want a new car, they don't save up for it. They buy an income-producing asset and let that asset cover the payments. Let's break that down. Imagine you want a $600,000 Ferrari. Most people would either take out a loan or never even consider it. But the wealthy ask a better question. What asset can I buy that will produce enough monthly cash flow to pay for that Ferrari? It could be a rental property. It could be a self-storage unit. It could be a dividend stock portfolio. Whatever it is, they focus on buying something that puts money in their pocket, not something that takes it out. That's the difference. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. If you master that one rule, everything changes. This is financial literacy, and it's the real education you were never given. Let's keep going. Most people think buying a house makes them rich, but a house you live in doesn't pay you. It costs you every month. That makes it a liability, not an asset. Same with a car. Same with fancy clothes. Same with anything that takes money out of your pocket. The rich don't avoid these things. They just let their assets pay for them. If they want a Rolls Royce, they buy a business or property that produces enough cash flow to cover the car payments. That way, their lifestyle doesn't come from their job. It comes from their assets. This is what they don't teach in school. You get taught to cut back, to live cheap, to save every penny, but you can't save your way to wealth. Inflation eats your savings. Banks pay you less than 1% interest, and the cost of living keeps rising. Living below your means won't make you rich. It just makes you smaller. It trains you to think in limits. Instead of expanding your means, you shrink your life. You were not meant to shrink. You were meant to build, to create, to grow. That requires a different mindset, one based on cash flow, not income. Cash flow is what's left after your assets pay your expenses. If your cash flow is positive, you're free. If your cash flow is negative, you're stuck. The poor and middle class work for income. The poor and middle class work for income. The rich work for assets. Income is active. Assets are passive. On the passive path, we don't chase jobs, we build income streams. We build income streams, we buy back our time, and we let those assets pay for anything we want. Let's take a real example. A man wants to buy a Shelby GT. It's not a cheap car. But instead of saving up, he buys an apartment unit with a business partner. That unit brings in enough cash each month to cover the cost of the car. The car is a liability, but it's paid for by an asset, so the money doesn't come out of his pocket. It comes from cash flow. The car will eventually depreciate, but the apartment unit keeps paying, even long after the car is gone. That's how the rich think. It's not about sacrifice, it's about structure. This mindset applies to everything. Want to travel the world? Buy or build something that generates monthly profit. Use that income to fund the trip. Want to quit your job? Build enough monthly cash flow from assets to cover your bills. When your cash flow exceeds your expenses, you're free. This is the goal. Not retirement at 65. Not scraping by on a pension. Not saving 10% and hoping for the best. Financial freedom doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And the blueprint starts with one thing. Buy assets. Let assets buy your liabilities. Never let liabilities eat your future. Once you see money this way, you can never go back. You stop thinking like a consumer. You start thinking like a creator. You stop saying, I can't afford it. You start asking, how can I afford it? This is how wealthy people think. This is how they live. And this is what the passive path is all about. Most people never get rich because they follow advice that keeps them poor. They're told to work hard, avoid debt, and live below their means. But the rich do the opposite. They use debt, they increase their income, and they think in terms of cash flow. They don't cut back on coffee. They figure out how to buy a coffee shop. They don't save for a car. They build a business that buys it for them. They don't say, I can't. They say, how? That shift in thinking is everything. It separates employees from entrepreneurs. It separates consumers from creators. The biggest trap is thinking small. Thinking that poverty is noble, that wealth is greedy, that working hard is all you need. But hard work with the wrong strategy still leads to struggle. Effort doesn't equal freedom. Results do. And to get results, you need the right structure. Let's break it down again. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. If you want a better lifestyle, don't cut back. Build up your assets. When your asset column grows, you don't need to touch your income. Your assets cover your lifestyle. That's true wealth. Think of every dollar like a little employee. Poor people spend those employees on things that disappear. Rich people assign them jobs that generate income. Buy something once, get paid forever. That's the goal. Let's use another example. A man wanted a Ferrari. Instead of taking out a loan, he invested in a self-storage facility in Austin. That storage unit paid him every month, and with that cash flow, he bought the Ferrari. The car eventually lost value. The asset kept paying. Years later, the car was gone, but the storage unit still brought in money. This is what it means to use money intelligently, not emotionally. You don't need a degree to do this. You don't need permission. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to shift how you think. Poor people think in terms of income. Rich people think in terms of ownership. Poor people try to avoid risk. Rich people manage it. Poor people chase safety. Rich people build systems. Most people never leave the rat race because they don't know how to escape it. They follow rules made to keep them running. But once you understand the game, you can stop playing it and start building your own. This starts with one decision. Own assets. Own your time. Own your path. And let's be clear, this isn't about greed, it's about freedom. Freedom to live where you want, to work when you want, to spend time with your family, to follow your purpose. Money doesn't buy happiness, but financial freedom removes the barriers to it. If you're tired of being told to settle, this is your alternative. The passive path is your map, and the next step is yours. Assets over income, cash flow over saving, ownership over obedience. If you want to change your life, don't wait. Start building something that pays you, even when you sleep. That's the heart of the passive path. If this video opened your eyes, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you never miss another strategy. Comment below with the first asset you plan to build. And share this video with someone you care about, someone who deserves a better future. Good luck on your path. Feel free to check out the other videos on this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.